Good morning. We're learning as a schos for Shlema Filan Chaya Baserach and for Meir Ben Cyril Perel. We're on Chav Zayin Amud Beis, 4 lines from the top. We're talking about trying to bring Rayas. We're trying to bring the source, that which says in the that we say that when you shech the behemo, it has to be from his throat. Good morning. So we're on Chav Zayin Amud Beis, toward the top. We're talking about where do we know that you have to shech a behemoth from the throat? Maybe you could do it from some other direction. Talking about high Tana Ma'isel Mehacha. This Tana brings it from here, the Tanya. Zois teres a behemoth va'oif. This is the Torah of the behemoth. Be'ezu Torah shops a behemoth la'oif. Va'oif la'behemoth. In what way is a behemoth similar? Is an animal similar to a bird, and a bird similar to an animal? Behemoth v'tab b'magov masa. Va'oif enim v'tab b'magov masa. As far as tumah, they're not similar because an animal that becomes a nevela becomes tummy with tumas nevela. You're also it's going to be matama if you carry it or if you touch it. But the oif, and it's not going to be matama begadim, the things that you're wearing. An oif is exactly the opposite. It is matama begadim, the clothing that the person is wearing. If he eats nevelas oiftar, but it's only matama beis abli. It's only matama when he swallows it. It's not matama when he touches it or carries it. So as far as tumah is concerned, the tumah of the nevela of a behema and the nevela of a oif are different. Now this is not directly zois teres habehema va'oif. We're talking about shechting them, but shechting incorrectly leads to nevela, I guess. But the Gemara says this is not similar in that. So what does the mean when the Torah compares them? Zois teres habehema va'oif. Be'ezu Torah shavs habehema la'oif va'oif la'behema lo'im l'cha ma behema b'shchita af oif b'shchita. It's telling you just like the Torah says that you should shech a behema. So you also have a shchita for an oif. That means we have the halacha l'moshe misina exactly how the shchita is carried out. The 5 requirements, the 5 psulim in the shchita, but the basic, the core requirement of shchita, the Torah says it by karbanos. So I might say, since you're comparing the behemoth to the oif, just like the behemoth, you have to do roiv of 2 simonim, maybe the oif as well, the bird, you're also going to have to shecht it with both simonim. Tamalay mezais. That's the Tanakama. Rebbe Eliezer, that wasn't the raya. The raya is going to, where do we see that the shechita is of behema is by the neck? We're going to see from the second Tana. Rebbe Eliezer, Be'ezu Torah shavsa behema life. He has a different explanation of what the comparison between the behema and the oif is. Oif lebehema. Lo'im lecha. Ma'if hoksheru minat hechsheri minat sav. Just like the oif, when you shecht it, you do so from the neck. So too the behem. That means we know that you do malika. You do malika from the back of the neck, right? So we're saying just like that has to be by the neck. Just like the oif, the way the Torah describes malika, and that's from the mimul arpai. So it tells you that the behem also gets a shchita by the neck. If you're learning it out from malika of an oif to a behema, why don't we say it's the back of the neck by a behema? By a behema, you do it by the throat of the behema, not by the back of the neck. There's a restriction, even though the Torah says, and we do learn out the behema from the oif. The oif is by the neck. Generally, there's a restriction, there's a miyat that tells you that only by the oif is it by the back of the neck and not by the behem. If you remember, the Tanakama had said that maybe you'll learn out, just like the behem is beroiv with the roiv of two simanim. Maybe the oif is the same thing. Talmud loim is zeis. So what is Rabbi Eliezer going to do with that zeis? So Gemara lav zeis avamina ma oif b'siman echad af behim b'siman echad kosel rachman is zeis. The zeis is to tell you not to learn out. Right, the Tanakama had learned out oif from behema. He's learning out behema from oif. So I would have maybe learned that the oif, since the oif is only with one siman, the behema is as well. That's what we need zeis. Zeis tells you only by the oif is there one siman enough. By behema you taka need both siman and both the veshet and the kana, both the windpipe and the esophagus. Tani bar kapara. Zeis teres ha behema v'oif. Hittel ha kosav l'oif bein behema l'dogim. This is the pasuk Zeis teres ha behema v'oif v'chol nefesh achayir meses b'mayim chol nefesh asheretzes al aretz. This is in Vayikra. So we say Zeis teres ha behema v'oif v'chol nefesh achayir meses b'mayim. It says first the behema, and then the oif, first the animals, then the birds, and then it says the dogim. Harimeses b'mayim. L'chayve b'shnei simanim. The Torah, so Zaktumar, you put the oif between the behema and the dog. It's between the animals and the fish. L'chayve b'shnei simanim yafsher shavakosh kokosh l'dogim. Since we have this sequence, we have first a behema, then a oif, then a dog. So the oif is being compared to both. It's next to both the behema and the dog. You can't say it should be mechayiv two simanim like a behema because it's next to dogim as well. The poitra b'likum miyavsher shekar hukush behema, but it can't have no simanim because it's next to behema. Okay, it's at hukshu b'siman echad. That's what we get. That it gets that the hechsher, the shchita of an oif of a bird is with one siman. Dogim the lavle shchita ninhu minalin. How do we know dogim don't need any shchita at all? The Torah says you should shecht the tzainu bakar as kol degei hayam yasef lahem, and the fish of the ocean you should gather to yourself. It doesn't say shchita on by the dogim; it just says you should gather it. So maybe that's the lima. That's what tells you that dogim don't need a shchita. Felt very wrong. I went fishing last year, 2 years ago. I went with a Goyish captain and a Goyish guy working there, and we took fish, and they took their knives and they filleted them for us. Felt like very wrong. How could I have a guy doing it? It felt like I needed some kind of shkita. But I asked. They said these knives are only used for cutting fish. They're only used cold. Even when they're used for non-kosher fish, as long as you see it's clean, there's no problem with it. So it feels funny that you don't have a shchita for a dog, but that is the case. You can just cut its head off and go at it, right? So maybe I'll say from Yosef Lahem Basif Ba'al Masakilu Elameata. If that was the case, because Asifa means without shchita, Gabe Shlov, by these birds that the Rebbeinu Shalom gave the Yidden when they're complaining about not having meat. We already said that Oif does need a shchita. So how could it be that the shlov that it says Yasu should be without shchita? So Gemara, no, that's Iktaka by Yosef by Dogim tells you that you don't need shchita. And that which it says Asifa by shlov, that's not a right. Hasam like Siva Asifa Babakam Shchita. Tachrin. Over there, we're not talking about shechting other things, and then it says contrasting that the shlav Asifa. It's just talking about gathering the shlav. But over here, the Torah said Hatzem Baka Yishchot, and then it says that the Gei Hayam you should just gather. So that from that contrast we see that it doesn't require a shchita. Darish over Galila, a certain Galila, someone from Galil, who was passing around, he said this drush: Behema shenivras min hayabasha, hechshera b'shnei siman. The behema which is created from the ground, its hechsher is with two simonim. Right? The Torah says that what's that place? Where's the Rashi? Minei Abasha, I'm sorry. No, it doesn't really say. We said in the pasuk, the Torah says that the behema comes from the ground. Dogim shenivru min hamayim achshem b'v'loy klum, and the dogim that are created from water, their hechsher is without any siman. Oif shenivru min harakak, and the oif that was created from mud, which is a combination of water and earth, hechsher b'shemenech. Amr of Shmuel, Kaputka, Teda, and I'll prove it to you. Shariayim Kashkashas, Ragleim Kedagim. The oif is a mixture of a land animal and a sea animal because they have scaly feet. You ever look at a chicken leg? It looks like a bony and scaly, like something from the ocean. That's a raya that they're similar. Where's the pasuk? I'm just trying to see where the pasuk is. Okay, anyway, whatever. That was what this Oiver Galila dash. Oid Shalu. So this is talking about this Oid Shalu. Rashi says Contrikun Hahegmanis Rabin Gamliel. Shailas Harbe. This Contrikun, who was a Gayish ruler, was asking him Gamliel a bunch of questions. This is one of the questions he asked. The Torah says the water should create sheretz of nefesh chaya, a lot of different living things, and the oif that flies. So that pasuk indicates that the oif came from the water. This is really the pasuk. These are the two psukim that we were referring to in the past. In the first drasha, it says over there that it says in this pasuk, the Bereshit made from Adama all the animals of the field and the Eif Hashamayim, the birds in the sky. So there you see that it's from the land. So he asked him, Leo, it's a stira. Amalei, the he answered him that it comes from the mud. It's a combination of both. Ra Talmidav mistaklim zeh b'zeh. So he saw his Talmidim were looking at one another, questioning. This seems like he said this is like a weak answer. You know you could do better. Amalhem kasha b'nechem shedachisi es oivei bekash. Are you surprised that when he came to ask me a question, I just pushed him off with a minimal answer? The answer is that when you're asked a question from someone who's questioning, it's not worthwhile to get into the Yisaidis Hamuna and to try to go into learning Gemara and you give an answer that will get out of the conversation. So you told him that is a combination. You took away the question. He didn't really explain to him the proper explanation. And now he gave to his Talmidim the proper answer. Minamayim nifru. Really, an oif came from the water. Like the pasuk says, Yishotzu amayim sheretz nefesh chaya v'oiv oifet. V'lama avian el adam. But why it says Vayisha Hashem alikim min ha'adama kol chayis asadav es kol ha'oif hashamayim. So if you read the whole pasuk, Vayavei el adam liris ma yikar loy v'chol asher yikar loy adam nefesh chaya hu shmai. The end of that pasuk, where it said that the Bereshit created from the ground the chayis asada and the oif hashamayim, it's not saying that it's not connected to the Vayitza Hashem Elikim min ha'adama. It's connected to the end of the pasuk, which says that Adam called that all of them their proper names. So that was not a raya that it was really from the Adama. That was just the pasuk first says that the Baruch Shalom made the Chayas Hasada from the Adama, and he also made the Oif Hashemayim not from the Adama, from the Mayim, like the other pasuk showed. And then Adam called all of them by their names. So that was It was really attached to the end of the pasuk, not the beginning. Some people say that his answer to the hegmoin was like we said over here at the end, that he was saying that it's really min min ha min hamaya. Ubelashon rishon amal lahem letalmida mishum dechsev al vayetzer, because he says when it says vayetzer, that it was going really on the oif, and therefore it was min harakak. We didn't want to say that subtle answer, so he just answered to the hegmoin the other way around, that it's really min hadama, and it was going on the end of the pasuk. So the question is, like, the Gemara is saying, in some ways, each one of the possibilities, in some ways, is more logical or more appropriate to give to the hegmoin, and which one is the real answer. And the Gemara doesn't give us the final decision. There's no shchita for an oif. An oif is not even a halacha l'maisha misinai. This is takanas chacham. Shenemar v'shafach v'shvicha ba'al masagi. The Torah says, if someone traps a wild animal or an oif or a bird, that he can eat, and he pours out its dam, and then there's a mitzvah of kisei hadam. The mitzvah of kisei hadam only applies to a chaya, to a wild animal, or to an oif, to a bird. It does not apply when you shecht a behema, a domesticated animal. Like if you shecht a cow or a sheep, there's no kisei adam, there's no mitzvah to cover the blood, but there is for the chaya and the oif. But in any case, the pasuk said, chaya oif asher yachal v'shafach es damai, and you spill its blood. So it's saying that's going on the oif. That the oif, all you need, b'shvicha ba'alma, you just have to spill its blood, but there's no requirement of the specifics of shchita. So Gemara, ihachi chaya nami. The pasuk says chaya and oif. So why are you saying that only on oif? Certainly you have to shecht a deer if you catch a deer or other wild animal. So Gemara iskash l'psuli hamakdashin. We're going to see on the next amud, we're going to say that when someone has a behema that you are makadosh, the Torah says you have to shecht it in the mizbeach, but if it becomes puzzle, then you could shecht it for yourself. So psuli hamakdashin, it says shchita, so that tells you we're makish chulin to psuli hamakdashin. Just like psuli hamakdashin have shchita, so too animals have shchita. Chayis also have shchita. Sorry, specifically chayis are hookish to psuli hamakdashin. Why don't we make a hekesh between oif and a behema, domesticated animal? So Gemara, but we have also v'shavach es damai, which says it doesn't need shchita. So why do we say shavach es damai? It's telling us the oif doesn't need shchita, and the chaya, we're being makdish to psul and gosh and say it does need shchita. Let's say the oif is hookish to behema and it needs shchita, and the chaya doesn't. So since the pasuk says zois asher yotzud tzayid chaya oif asher yachal v'shavach, since it first says chaya, then it says oif, and then it says shafach. So shafach is near to oif, so therefore it tells you that it doesn't need shchita. Now the Gemara is going to ask a series of questions on this proposition that a bird doesn't need shchita. Meisvei, hashoichet v'nisavla b'yadai. If someone shechts, at this point the Gemara is assuming we're talking about an oif. You shecht an oif and you do a bad job of it, and it becomes an avela. You don't cut the samana properly. The blade gets caught. Hanoicha v'hama'akar. If he stabs it, or makar, he pulls out, he tears the siman, patam ilichsis. We said there's a din of kisei adam on the blood of a oif. So But if the shchita is not a good shchita, there's no mitzvah of kisei adam. Kisei adam is only a din on a kosher shchita. If you do the shchita improperly, then there's no kisei adam. Vi amr dein shchita loif min atayra yichras zui shchita the boy kisei. Kisei is a mitzvah deraisa. If this midaraisa is a good shchita, why wouldn't you need kisei adam midaraisa? Even if you messed up the shchita midarabanan, but midaraisa is a good shchita. So Gemara, misavis ba'oif, loy b'chaya. We're not talking about an oif, we're talking about a chaya. Chaya certainly does need shchita. When we're in enachanami and oif, maybe you would need kisei adam, even if you do an incorrect shchita. Tashma.
Chaya doesn't. Chaya also need.
Chaya and oif both need kisei adam.
Both need kisei adam.
Chaya needs a shchita midaraisa. That's not. We said the shafach was only going back on oif, not on chaya. Toshma. Someone who's shechting and he needs the dam, he has a need for it. We're going to see. He needs it for, to keep they used to use it instead of mothballs, keep the moths out of their clothing. You take dam, that was effective. Or they would use it for as a dye. He needs a dam, but the problem is the mitzvah of kisei adam. He has to cover it over. He can't use the dam. So what do you chayav lichsis? He has to do kisei adam. So what should he do? Ketzadui. So what should he do to be able to use the dam? He does an invalid shchita, and then there's no mitzvah of kisei adam. He can use the blood. Isn't this talking about the blood of an oif, and he's trying to avoid the mitzvah of kisei adam by doing akira or nechira, by stabbing or pulling the simonim and doing an invalid shchita, which would take away the chiyuv of kisei adam. But that's only good if we say that there's a chiyuv of shchita daraisa. If midaraisa, it's still a kosher shchita, even without doing it properly, there'd still be a mitzvah kisei adam. And he wants the blood for, like we said, to use it in the place of mothballs to protect his clothing. So we're talking about a chaya. A chaya, of course, will have a mitzvah of kisei adam, but you'll be able to take away the mitzvah of kisei adam by doing an invalid shchita. He needs the blood to use as a dye. Tashma, malak besakin. If someone did malika is supposed to be done with the nail of the kayin on the back of the neck of a oif. Mitam begadim, but he did it with a knife instead of with the fingernail. Mitam begadim abeisablia. The animal becomes an avela because this is not a kosher shchita. He's going to first. The shchita is not kosher. Now I'll understand that this is not going to be valid. There's going to be a problem. Even if you hold you don't need a valid shchita, but the animal can't be a treifa. And if you go from the back of the neck of a bird, you're going to first break the spine and the neck bone of the bird before you get to the simonim that will kill it. And by making it first a treifa, it's going to remain a treifa. It's not going to help that you afterwards kill it. Even if you say there's no shchita min atayra, you still have to kill the animal by destroying the simonim one way or the other, because you have to kill the animal with a shchita. But if it first becomes a treifa, right? If let's say you cut the animal in half, the bird in half, it can't live. That's not going to be a shchita. You have to. You still are required to kill it before it becomes a treifa. But the Gemara says, but still, it shouldn't be an avela, even if it became a treifa, and then the knife went through and cut the simonim. It's not, if you don't hold midaraisa, it needs shchita, so when you kill the animal with the knife, it's not an avela, it was killed properly. It means it's a little bit hard to understand, right? Because I guess the way I described it was there's no shchita for an oif min haTorah. You would think this should be no nevela either, right? If there's no such thing as shchita, So, however, the animal dies, it's not the case. If an animal dies naturally, it's going to be an avela. If it expires, or if you kill it in any way other than cutting the simanim. The point is, you don't have to do all five of those requirements. It's okay if you do a shi'iyah, if you wait, if you stab it, if you use it with a nick. All those requirements are not midaraisa. It's not a halachal mishmi sinai on that, but you are going to have to kill the animal by removing the siman. But in any case, if we hold that there's no shchita on a oif midaraisa, why would it become an avela when he cuts it with a knife instead of doing malika? In the end, he killed the animal with the knife, even if it became a treifa first, but it's not an avela. So come on, who the amar ki aitana the tanya belazar kaf berevi yomer matam alayma ach kasher yochel es atzvi. This is the pasuk ach kasher yochel es atzvi v'sa'ayil kein toichalen u'atame v'ator yaktov yochelen. This is talking about eating psulei hamakdashim after shrita. You could eat them. So just like we say, just like you'd eat a deer or an antelope if you shech them, so too you can eat the psulei hamakdash. But there's nothing to learn from tzviva ayil to the psulei hamakdash. So limit is really the other way around. You learn out tzviva ayil from psulei hamakdash. Makash tzviva ayil psulei hamakdash. Ma psulei hamakdash b'shchita. Just like the Torah says, psulei hamakdash requires shchita. Av tzviva ayil b'shchita. Va'oif ein lo shchita midivrei Torah ele midivrei seifrim. And an oif that's not mentioned, since we are not the Torah says tzviva ayil b'shchita. A behema is b'shchita. An animal is b'shchita. But an oif, since it's not mentioned, ein lo shchita midivrei Torah ele midivrei seifrim. So we have a Tana, even though we have the other Tana before that seemed to indicate, since it said it's going to be an avela if you do the pesakin instead of malika. But this Tana says, it's only midrabanan. Man Tana the polygalad Belazar Kafir. Who's the man the Amr who disagrees with Belazar Kafir and says that there is a shchita on a oif midarai? So Rebbe, the Tanya Rebbe Yomer, Zavachta kasher tzevisicha. You should shech like I commanded you. Melamed shtava Moshe ala veshet v'ala kol v'rayv echad ba'oif v'al roiv shnayim be'mehema. Tells you that there's a halacha ala Moshe Sinai on the two simonim, and that you have to do roiv of one simon by a oif and a roiv of shnayim by a behema. You see, he says it's a local Moshe Sinai, which is a deraisa on roiv echad ba'oif, not a derabanan like we saw from Belazar Kafir. Yeah.
What do you see from that pasuk that it's talking about an oif, according to Rabbi?
He just describes that he says that tzivoy, that's a reference to the halacha, to the fact that Bershom gave halacha l'Moshe Sinai on zvicha, and then he defines that. It doesn't mean bedafka oif, but he just defines that halacha l'Moshe Sinai includes oif. If it would be said in the pasuk, it wouldn't be halacha l'Moshe Sinai. It would be a pasuk. I mean, he's defining the halacha l'Moshe Sinai to include the oif as well. It's no specific reference to oif there. So if you look at Rashi, kasher tzivizicha lamed shenispashal mitzvah shchita al peh dehechan tziveu b'ksav. The Torah never said b'ksav where it is, but the pasuk is telling you that there is halacha l'Moshe Sinai, which is an interesting thing. I don't remember seeing that by other halachos l'Moshe Sinai. We have a pasuk saying that there is halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Okay, zak t'gema echad ba'oif. We said you only need one simon by oif. Idmer Rav Nachman Amar oy veshet oy kana. Rav Nachman says when the Torah says you have to do one simon, it's either the veshet, which is the esophagus, oy kana, which is the windpipe. Either one of them is sufficient. Rav Bahava Amar veshet v'loy kana. It must be the esophagus. The kana is not enough. he holds these. He says, and everyone agrees, the esophagus is more essential. Cutting the esophagus will kill the animal quicker or more conclusively than the kana. So if you do roiv of the kana, that's not sufficient. You also have to do roiv of the vesh. I would have thought the other way around, right? You need to breathe more than esophagus is for food and the veshet is for breathing. But what do I know? I'm not the expert in animal livelihood. The pasuk says one. You have to. We learned in the Mishnah one. Echad koldu, either one. Revad Barava Amaveshet Loikana. My echad miyuchad. When it says in the Mishnah one simon, it means the simon. It doesn't mean either one of the simonim. It means it must be the veshet. Meisve. Shachad is a veshet. Achkach nishmeka hagargeres. If you shech the veshet, which is the esophagus of a oif, and then afterwards the kana slipped out of its place. It wasn't shechted; it got dislocated. So the animal is no longer able to. It's not a viable animal. It's going to die because of the geres. But you already shechted the veshet. Sheira, you already did the shchita. What happens after the shchita is irrelevant. Nishma hagar geres v'achach shachad as a veshet, but it's the other way around. If the if first the kana slipped out of its place, so that's not a shechita. Obviously, you didn't shecht it, but it is enough to make it a treifa. And then afterwards, you shecht the veshet, which would have been shecht the esophagus, would be enough to be a kosher shechita. Psula, it's possible because it became a treifa before the shechita. Shachar es haveshet v'nimtzas gageres shmuta. If he shechted the esophagus, and then afterwards he found that the windpipe is out of place, but you don't know if it happened before or after. If it happened before, it was a treifa before the shechita. If it happened afterwards, it's irrelevant. We have to passel it. A suffix shechita is possible. We only said the question where he did the shechita on the esophagus, but the kana, the windpipe slipped out of place. We didn't say the other way around. That's mashma that the windpipe itself is not a sufficient shechita. It has to be the esophagus. It's like, well, no, mishum de gageres avidu l'shtamute. The reason why we said he shechted the esophagus, the veshet, is because the kana has the ability to get dislocated. The veshet is unlike; it doesn't have that propensity to dislocate, so it wouldn't have made sense. Technically, that case wouldn't have really happened. Tashma, shachat shnei chatzoi simonim ba'oif. If he did half of two simonim, he didn't do roiv of two simonim. He just did half. Psula, it's going to be possible because he didn't do a roiv of a simon. Certainly by a behem. Yehuda says, even if you do roiv, you also have to do the veshet together with the viridin, which are these veins that let out the blood, as we're going to see on the next amud, that the viridin are required not as a din shchita, but more as a din of kashrus to get out the dam of the mishum de veshet samach levridin. So, but in any case, we say actually there's a veshet. Sounds like only the veshet, not the kana. It sounds like not like the mandamu says you can do either one. The answer Gemara answer mishum de veshet samach levridin. No, it just says the veshet and the vridin because they're next to each other. It's unusual to do the kana together with the vridin. You do have to do the vridin together with the shchita, but usually you're going to do the veshet rather than the kana. Tashma, shakat chatzi gargeres. If he shechted half of the kana, of the windpipe, b'shah kedei shchita, and he waited a period of time, but he only did half. He didn't do roiv. So the din is if you have a kana that's half cut, until it got to roiv, it's not a treifa. It's not counted. It's irrelevant, even if it happened on its own. It's not going to pass the shchita. The gomer shchita tzukshera. The shah kedei shchita acheres the gomer shchita tzukshera. Even if you waited you did what would be a pasul of shia, doesn't make a difference because the shchita happens when he finishes the shchita. My la ba'oif is it not talking about by an oif? My gomra gargaris, and it's saying all he has to do is finish the gargaris. He has to finish just the kana. He doesn't have to do the veshet. It's a raya like the madama. It says you can do either one. You can do the kana as well. So my gomra l'shchita kula. It's talking about we did the first half, and then he did both. He finished the roiv of the both of the simonim. It doesn't make a difference. It's still a kosher shchita since it was only half. It wasn't more than a half. Toshma hareya shahaya chatzi kana pogam. If he had a chatzi of a kana that was cut, pre-cut before he started the shchita. V'haisel of kosher, when he added a little bit to it, it's the gamra shkitasik shera. He finishes the shchita. It's kosher. My lav ba'oif for my gamra lekana. It's talking about we said the kana. So all you have to do is you go into the kana. So you see that even the kana is enough. My gamra leveshet. When it says gamra, it means he finished not just the kana, he did the veshet as well. Toshma, ketzad molk and chatasayif. How do you do malika on the chatasayif? Like we said, the chatasayif you have to do one siman, the oilusayif you have to do two siman. So you say chaytach sheder mafrekas. He does malika. He cuts through the spine and the neck bone below roiv basar, but he's not allowed to do roiv basar. Like we had this price before. If he did roiv basar around those bones, that would make it a treifa. But he avoids doing roiv basar. Acham yigil leveshet or lekana. Until he gets to the vesher ikana, yigil leveshet lekana chaytach siman echad roiv basar imayu uba'ilu shnayim or roiv shnayim. By echad he gets to the one of the two, the kana of the veshet. Uba'ilu he has to do both of them. So from here you see conclusively, it says you can do either the kana or the veshet. But it says it doesn't have to be with dafka the esophagus. It could even be the limb. My havi Allah. So what's taka the answer? My havi Allah kadagama. We just said that we have a brisa that says like not like Ravada Bahava that it has to be that it could be either one. No, Dilma Shami Hasan the Ikka Shadru Mafrekas. Maybe that's different. Although over there we say that it's sufficient by Malika to just do the Veshet, maybe that's because, just enough to do the Kana. Maybe that's because over there you're also doing the spine, so you're doing a lot of things. So maybe only in that case is it sufficient to do the Kana together with the spine and the neck. My Tashma, the Ahubar Avza, the Havabei Rava. There was this goose that they brought to Rava. Also, the Havabei Rava also. They brought it to Rava, and the neck was covered with blood. So they were chayshish that maybe there was a psul in one of the simonim. Amar Rava Heichinavid, what should we do? How are we going to check whether there's a psul in the simonim? Nishchatei v'hadin nibdekei to shecht it and afterwards check if the blood was caused because there was a hole in the simon. The makom nekav kashachet. Maybe there was a pre-existing hole, but you shechted it over that hole, and you're not going to see it, that it was already possible. To check it before you shecht it, the veshet cannot be examined from the outside. You have to turn it inside out because the blood can cover over a simon from the outside. The only way to check it is from the inside. So you can't check it until it's dead, and you could turn it inside out. Amal Rabbi Yosef Bray, Rabbi Yosef, his son said, Nivdeke lekana, check the kana, v'nishchatei lekana, and then if you see it's only the veshet that you have this problem, the esophagus, but the windpipe can be checked from the outside. So check it from the outside, v'nishchatei lekana, check the kana, the lichsherei, which will make enough to kasher it, assuming there's no pre-existing psul in the veshet, and then afterwards turn the veshet inside out and check it. Because then you already, if you don't find any psul, the kana you checked and there was no psul and you shechted it, and now you check the veshet and it also had no psul. Amarava chacham Yosef Bray the tafis Rabbi Yochanan. So you see, Yosef came up with a good eitzah. Alma echad the kamar oy hay. But from the fact that we're saying that shchita of just the kana would be sufficient prior to checking the veshet, vaistais that kana is enough. Again, not like the Ada Brahava. We saved the Rada Brahava before, but this one we can't save. Okay, we'll stop over here. Shkoyach.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Take care. You too.